thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. This plan to strike Iran has been in the works for years, and we know a good portion of that has been with your involvement as well. The opening strike was no doubt a massive blow to the Iranian regime, but can you be certain that the nuclear program itself has been set back significantly from what we've seen thus far?
Iran is in its weakest point, and they are very close to possess nuclear weapon. And they already enrich uranium to 60%. It's a question of, I would say, few weeks to enrich uranium for 8 bombs to the level of 90%. This is very dangerous, not only to Israel, but also to the region and the world. Imagine that one of these ballistic missiles, that hundreds of them were shot against Israel recently, would have been equipped with a nuclear warhead. And let me remind you that they can reach not only Israel, but also Egypt and Turkey and Greece and some of Eastern Europe and definitely the other side, Pakistan and other places, and they have shown it already. So a nuclear weapon in the hands of irresponsible regime is a very dangerous thing. This is a danger to the world. And the conditions that we achieved recently are good enough to start. And I think that we already were taking the Iranians years backward by what we did recently in the last few days.
Do you think just the actions that Israel has taken in striking some of these nuclear sites and facilities like Natanz, you think that has set back Iran's nuclear program for years?
For a few years, yes. I think that Natanz by itself is a major site. You know, I had the privilege to present the American president 22 years ago what's going on the ground when they started to establish these sites in Natanz. I was the military secretary for the late Prime Minister Sharon, and in his presence and under his order, I presented to President Bush, and Vice President Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, and eventually the president said, it was 2003. He said, we will not allow Iran to possess nuclear weapon ever. And it was reiterated by all the American presidents up to President Trump. And I think that it's time to act. Time for action is now.
So you mentioned Natanz. Isfahan is another site that we know Israel has attacked. But one concern is the facility that remains very impenetrable per intelligence, and that is Fordow. And the concern is that without it actually being eliminated, that Iran could in turn accelerate its nuclear program. It appears the Iranian parliament just today voted to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. How much does that concern you if, after all of this is said and done, Fordow remains intact?
I believe that the United States of America and the President of the United States have an obligation to make sure that the region is going to a positive way and that the world is free from Iran that possessed nuclear weapon in the middle of the richest place in oil and gas in the world. This could be a disaster for the world. And I believe that the determination of the American president that have been shown recently will pave the way to America to enter into this very important operation. The President of the United States have the option to change the Middle East and influence the war and influence the world, not only the war, in order to do something that will create a better future for all of us.
You have said as much on Israeli television. Recently, you said that Israel needs the U.S. On its side to completely eliminate the nuclear program. Given that, do you think that Prime Minister Netanyahu would have given the go-ahead on this operation if he didn't have the explicit commitment from President Trump that at the end of the day, if need be, the United States would join in on this operation, in this war, to go after nuclear sites that only the United States has a capability to, and I'm specifically referencing Fordo?
Well, we needed 4 different conditions in order to launch the attack. The first 3 have been achieved in my term in September and October. The first one was to eliminate Hezbollah. The second one was to eliminate the air defense in Iran and especially around Tehran, and start to create the corridor that allow Israel to go directly to Tehran and hit them. The third one was to cut the chain of supply by destroying the manufacture capability of ballistic missiles in Iran. All this was achieved in September, October 24. But we stayed with the last condition. And the last condition was the approval of the United States to Israel at the right time. And I'm sure that all these issues were discussed between the Prime Minister and the President.
So again, given the high level of meetings that you've had with U.S. officials in your time as Minister of Defense, and given the amount of time that you participated in planning for this operation, is it your belief then that this would not have happened, that Israel would not have launched this war without the commitment that the United States, if need be, would join as well? Is the ultimate goal here to eliminate Iran's nuclear program with the United States assisting Israel?
Well, we are after the beginning of the war. The resolution have been made, and there is only one option now: to go forward and to accomplish the job. The job have to be done by Israel, by the United States, by the free world. We don't see why Iran need civilian nuclear energy. They possess 11% of the oil and gas reserve in the world. Why do they need any kind of nuclear energy? And the reason is different. They want to possess nuclear weapon in order to create hegemony in the Middle East, to threaten everybody around them, including Israel, but not only Israel. It's Europe, it's the Gulf state. They want to create something different, and they want to control the Middle East as they control their own people as a brutal regime. We are not going to allow that to happen.
President Trump just today said that the U.S. could get involved. That is not a clear commitment. He also said that Israel's attacks, in his view, should bring and could bring Iran back to the negotiating table in earnest. In your view, and given your time as defense minister, is it your assessment that the Israeli government views an opportunity for negotiations to be closed, or does that remain an option?
I think that there is only one way to end this war, and this is without any kind of capability to enrich uranium or to possess nuclear weapons in Iran. Whether we will find a different solution rather than the military one, this is another question. But they cannot possess this capability in their hands once it's over. This is a unique opportunity. This is a pivotal point in the future of the Middle East and the world, and I believe that the president will use this opportunity to bring them to the right decision.
What happens if he doesn't? What happens if President Trump ultimately tells Prime Minister Netanyahu that it's time to end this war without completely eliminating Iran's nuclear program?
Well, Bayana, in the Middle East, if you put only one if in a sentence, you can go everywhere. Let's concentrate on what's going on and not what the if questions, which are hypothetical, can lead to. We need to destroy Iran's capabilities. We achieved tremendous achievements by eliminating their scientists that possess most of the knowledge. We hit most of the facilities, and we need to accomplish it this way or another.
You mentioned that just from the actions we've seen since this attack started on Friday, that you believe that Iran's nuclear program has been set back years. But former Prime Minister Ehud Barak said that, quote, Israel alone cannot delay the nuclear program of Iran by a significant time period, probably several weeks or a month. And then he went on to say that even the U.S. cannot delay them by more than a few months. So this questions the ultimate strategy here. What is your response to those comments from the former prime minister?
Well, I said what I think, and we will see what is the future and what we are going to participate in. But I believe that what happened in Iran in the last week is something very prominent that will set them back years backward.
This has been a very difficult and costly time for Israel as well. There have been numerous casualties. Iran has inundated the country with ballistic missiles, hundreds of them. And while Israel does have a formidable defense system, many have gone through at this point. The Israeli military said today that the country's Air Force had destroyed 120, or about a third, of Iran's surface-to-air missile launchers. How significant is that? Because while Iran is said to have over 1,000 missiles going after those launchers, which was an operation you took part in last year, would not allow them to use all of those missiles. So how significant is this development, going after the launchers themselves?
I think that basically the most important component that we achieved, beside eliminating Hezbollah, was that we created a corridor to hit Iran. The meaning is that for every missile that they are shooting to Israel, we can hit them 10 times, 20 times, or 100 times with heavy bombs, heavy air bombs. This is a major difference. So under their calculation, they were thinking that they will be shooting at Israel and we have nothing to do against it. But the situation is different. We can hit any military target in Tehran, Isfahan, and other places, as we have shown. And the meaning is that this is not priceless. This is something that they are paying dear price. So they need to think if they want Tehran to look like Beirut in the war. And I believe that this will retaliate. This retaliation will help us by the way that we are doing it. Plus, I need to salute the Israeli military and to say how much I appreciate the behavior and the resilience of the Israeli public. I have been today to one of the sites that were hit by Iran, and people are hearted. Some of them lost their relatives, but the Israeli spirit is united, and we all understand, myself included, that there is no other way but to stay united and to go for our goals, mutual goals. And I believe that this will be a great achievement of Israel in the next few weeks.
It's pretty clear that the Iranians are targeting civilians, given the mass casualty numbers thus far in Israel and the residential areas that have been hit. Does anything else stand out to you in terms of what Iran's objectives are and their targets? Are they going after sensitive military facilities as well, in your view?
Well, uh, let me remind you that Iran has basically one option to hit Israel, and this is ballistic missiles. A lot of them are not accurate. A lot of them are not achieving the target. We are successfully targeting some of them on the ground and a lot of them on the air. So all in all, they are very limited in the way they try to hit Israel, although these heavy ballistic missiles are very dangerous, and once they hit civilian properties and civilian sites, this can be a very painful result. Therefore, in one hand, we are very determined and we are doing anything to protect ourselves. On the other hand, we retaliate in a very painful way to Iran every day. And I believe that they don't have a very sophisticated plan, because most of the generals and the leaders of the Revolutionary Guard are gone. And therefore, the supreme leader is disconnected from what's going on underneath him, and those who replace them are not the best or the first choice. And I think that, as I said in the beginning, they have a limited amount of ballistic missiles. It's not small, but it's limited.
Is the Supreme Leader a target as well?
All the options are on the table.
And so if President Trump, as he's reportedly have said, to veto going after and targeting and assassinating the Supreme Leader, would that be a mistake in your view?
I'm not giving any comments to what was said or wasn't said by somebody. I said what I think. And I was planning this operation 2 years ago. And I directed the IDF about the stages and the phases and the efforts. And we started it basically on October 26 last year under my role. So, as I said, all the options are on the table.
This has been a plan, as we know, that has been in the works for years. Was it one that was discussed in your time as defense minister with the Biden administration?
I think that this plan in specifically wasn't discussed during the last 2 years. And this is not the same plan that we had, let's say, before I entered to my job. We changed the plan dramatically by the first half of 2023. And we created the plan that you are watching now. And during the war, the issue of Iran needed to be prepared, and the preparation was first and foremost to eliminate Nasrallah and Hezbollah and the ballistic missiles and the rockets in the hands of Hezbollah. And this, as you know, have been done only recently in September 24. Therefore, I don't know what happened after November 24, but before that it wasn't discussed in details as the plan is ongoing now.
Understood. Prime Minister Netanyahu, in his very first statement on the day of this attack, viewed it as a liberation for the Iranian people. Is the ultimate goal here to rid Iran of its nuclear program, or is it one of regime change?
The ultimate goal is to make sure that Iran will not possess a nuclear weapon or even nuclear military capability. And I'm not resisting, I'm supporting a change of regime in Iran, but a lot of it have to be done by the Iranian people and not by us or by America.
Is there concern, or there is concern, I would say, from the outside world that while this may have been tactically a successful plan for Israel, what does the day after plan for Iran look like from Israel's perspective?
We are not managing Iran. We only want to make sure that Iran is not possessing nuclear weapons. Let me remind you that the brain and the power behind Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Syrians is Iran. They are fighting Israel with their proxies for the last 30 years and definitely during the last 20 months. They are trying to kill Israeli people. They were supporting and actually equipped Hamas for October 7 attack. And we need to make sure that they will never possess nuclear weapon. You know, I am a son of Holocaust survivors. For me, never again is not only a commitment. For me, it's a manual. I need to work according to it. And if someone like Iran is saying time and again, death to Israel, death to America, for them it's the same, and explain that every missile is aimed to destroy the future of the Jewish people, what do you want us to do? The only thing we can do is to block it and to avoid it. And later on, I hope that the Iranian people will take their future in their hands.
I know that even among the Prime Minister's critics, there seems to be a significant, overwhelming amount of support for this operation and this war against Iran now. But what do you make of those who are even questioning the timing of this, given his own political challenges at home?
Well, I think that there will be enough time for domestic politics in Israel, as it happened always. Right now, all of us have to be united and to stay behind the Israeli forces, the IDF, the Mossad, and of course behind the Israeli government. This is the government and this is a legal resolution and we need to support it. When we will finish with the existential threat of Iran, there will be enough time for those who criticize. And as you know, I'm not part of the government right now, but I believe that this is a strong, a bold, and essential step that was taken.
Well, one of the reasons you are not part of the government right now is because of public disagreements that you had with how the war in Gaza was being planned and how it was being pursued. You said that the military objectives in that war had been accomplished long ago and that it was time to reach a deal that would see all the hostages come home. So given your concerns about how that war is being waged, I know there is overwhelming support for this war against Iran. My question to you is, do you think Prime Minister Netanyahu is the right person to be leading this war?
I think that we are in given situation. And in this situation, we have to make sure that we demolish and destroy all the Iranian capabilities. And regarding Gaza, I said loud and clear that there are only two remaining goals in Gaza: to free the hostages and to create an alternative and to replace Hamas. This has to be achieved in one order. First the hostages and then the change of regime and continue to destroy Hamas. If we go the other way, we won't have anyone to bring home back. And I think that this is not only the most important thing, which is human life. This is also a question of values, and I am willing to fight for my values.
Do you think this war with Iran will now bring a resolution sooner in Gaza, or do you think it could delay one?
I believe that once we will succeed to destroy the Iranian nuclear capabilities, it will be easier for the Israeli government to accept a resolution regarding the future in Gaza.
And final question, have you spoken with the Prime Minister about what's happening now with this war in Iran? Have you spoken with him since you left government?
I'm not going to discuss what I said or I didn't say and what is the relations with the Prime Minister. He is leading the government, and we, including myself, we the Israelis, we are behind him to accomplish the job.
And I'm sorry that this will be the final question. I do want to get you to respond to what another former Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, has recently publicized in an op-ed and has given many interviews saying as much, and that is his view that war crimes have been committed in Gaza, in the war there. What is your response to those accusations?
This is absolutely wrong, and this is absolutely not the situation. The Israeli authorities, the government and the military are working according to the international law of war, and I'm not saying that mistakes are not happening. It happened everywhere. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation that friendly fire killed our own people. This can happen, but these are mistakes. And this conclude and include the Palestinian citizens. They are not our enemy. The Hamas is the enemy, and Israel will never order crime wars. This is all false.
General Gallant, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.